Invite you for this interesting session on Ride the Roller Coaster of Life with Ease. And to take the session ahead, let me introduce you to Parina Sharma. Parina is an HR professional, a certified coach, and a mindfulness and emotional intelligence teacher. She combines her 25 years of human resource, corporate, and consulting experience, along with 10 years of inner transformation journey, to bring insight and depth to all her assignments. She is one of the first certified teachers in India in the mindfulness and emotional intelligence program called Search Inside Yourself, a program that was born at Google. Parina is also a Reiki master and a mindfulness and Vipassana practitioner. Her passion is to bring positivity, well being, success, and inner peace to as many lives as possible. She is an ardent environment conservation supporter. And after all this heavy stuff, on a lighter side, she's quite a prankster. And what is important for her, very much dear to her, is her sleep. And she doesn't like anyone to come between her and her sleep. Interesting, Parina. Over to you.
Thank you, Rekha. Thank you for opening the webinar and giving the introduction. And yes, today's session is a bit heavy and I would do my best. I think it's more important if we just go with the flow, take it easy. And having said that, without much ado, I'd like to start with the session. So, riding the roller coaster of life. Our life always becomes a roller coaster for most of us. And as I was preparing this presentation, I just thought, when I was looking for what to do, I came across this picture, which I put in here without any reason, just because I felt like, and I thought it was a nice picture. So we can just look at it. Don't think too much. Just look at it as a picture and we move on from there. Now, life
is that a prank, Parina? Is that a prank you've played on us?
You can call that, Rekha. We don't have to start with the most serious note.
True.
So, as our topic suggests, life is a roller coaster, and it's always a mixed bag of things for all of us. So, and we go through different life experiences. What differentiates these life experiences for us is primarily the kind of emotion that it generates for us. And more importantly, the way we connect and deal with those emotions. It'll be not wrong for us to say that our life experiences hinge on our ability to deal with our emotion and the experience of that emotion. Because very clearly, our most cherished experiences and moments of our life are the ones where we have deep emotional connect. But on the flip side, the reverse is also true. Our most difficult times are also very emotional. So, how can we improve our experience of life and reduce the intensity of these unpleasant emotions and the way we experience them? Before we get there, let's check in ourselves within ourselves a bit. And I would like you to share in the chat box what are some of the emotions that you experience that you find difficult to deal with? You can share that in the chat box.
Would you like me to call out some, Parina?
Yeah, I was trying to. I can read that right now. Rage, fear of failure, anxiety, anger seems to be the winner here. And I think I can helplessness, knee-jerk reaction, emotions that bring unpleasantness, regret, anger, fear of failure, fear of losing a person, rage, fear of disappointing a loved one. Yeah, so we can see that there are a lot of these emotions that we find difficult to deal with. And they do vary from each person to the other person. But the fact is that these difficult moments, these unpleasant emotions, the tough situations in life are here. We only can figure out how do we deal with them. So amongst these ups and downs of life, how do we improve our experience of life? And a simple answer remains, emotion is what is common to everything and being able to manage it better. And one way to manage these emotions better is emotion regulation. Now, when I look at technically what is emotion regulation, it is the ability to exert control over one's own emotional state. And there are various techniques and tools to regulate your emotions. And for today's session, we will use the tool which is supported by neuroscience and based on mindfulness. So I'm going to share 3 simple steps which we can, at least even if we have been using it for some time, or if we are beginning our journey in this space, we can look at these steps and see how they support us. So the simple steps are, the first thing is creating awareness. Very clearly, we need to create awareness for ourselves to be able to know what's happening for us. From moving on from there, we look at connecting to our emotions. We'll see how can we connect to our emotions a little differently than we normally do. And from there, how do we choose a different response? And it can become a cycle. It's a very simple thing of create, connect, and choose. So we don't have to make it heavy. We just go through it and see how can we do it simply. Because if we make it too difficult, we don't feel like attempting something that we are going to do. Now, how do we create awareness? Now, I'm referring to awareness, it's very clearly we are focusing on emotions. So we're looking at what emotions do we need to create awareness about. So some of the emotions that we want to create awareness is, and the unpleasant ones, especially if we are getting carried away from there. Now, before we go further, I want to share a story which will help and connect at various points for our presentation. Once upon a time in China, a man on a horse rode very fast and he rode past a man standing on the side. The standing man asked, "Rider, where are you going?" The man on the horse answered, "I don't know, ask the horse." And that's odd, but I'm sure in today's context you understand what are we coming at. This story is a clear metaphor for our emotional lives. The horse clearly here represents, you would have guessed, our emotions. We usually feel compelled by our emotions, that we have no control over the horse and we let it take wherever it wants us to take. But the fact remains that we can tame and guide the horse. It all begins with understanding the horse, which is understanding our own emotions. Once we understand the horse, we can learn to communicate and work with it skillfully. So this, I thought, represents very easily how, and all of us have experienced in life, how this horse sometimes just does not listen to us. Having said that, we look at the first step, creating awareness. Now, create awareness. If you just, if you opened your laptop or if you opened your phone and you saw a thing on your screen which looks like this, what would you do? Very simple answer, right? You'll just reach out for your buttons to improve your resolution, the contrast, and the brightness. And you'll simply play around with those controls till you get to something like this. And what if we could increase the resolution and awareness of our emotions so that we can perceive our emotions and we can see them the moment they arise, they cease, and the subtle changes in between. Now, this all starts with firstly for all of us to have clarity of our emotions. But it's easier said than done. When we can all have awareness, and with today's technology and everything, we know what's happening in each corner of the world. smallest city, but when we put the focus light inside, it's not so easy for us to look within and know what's happening. So, how can we do that? How can we improve the clarity of our things? Now, one thing which is there is we know that our emotions arise in the brain, in what is known as the limbic system of the brain. Emotions are, in one way, if we define them, they are our brain's response to a stimulus. Now, this stimulus can be external or internal. For example, if you're standing outside alone and it's dark and there's some rustling in the bushes, it gives you some response. That's an external stimulus. Now, at the same time, while you're sitting for this webinar, if you suddenly remember that an important email that you were supposed to send and you forgot, it gives a sinking feeling suddenly in your gut. That's an internal stimulus to which you have a response. So it's clear, though emotions arise in our body, but they do show up in our, sorry, my mistake, I'll have to restate that. Though emotions arise in our brain, they do show up in our body. And let's experience that. Let's try to see if we can feel the same. So, for a minute, a quick one. If you want, you can close your eyes, but this is like a quick visualization. Let's feel the feeling. Now, while you're sitting here, if you just think of wherever you are, if in another part of your house, which you can't see right now, while attending this webinar, you hear a great thud or a crashing sound. Do you feel something when you visualize that something happens in your body? If yes, just be aware of it. And if you want to share, you can share it on the chat box what you feel. Now, another feeling, let's just look at another feeling. Just think that you've opened the door. I know it's COVID times right now and we don't have somebody, but just think of beforehand. You open the door and you suddenly find a loved one of yours standing at your doorstep, whom you haven't seen in a very long time. You're pleasantly surprised and really happy. I want you to visualize it for yourself and just see where do you feel it in your body. Now, the fact is, we do feel these feelings. At the same time, there are some people, I've also had some friends who say, I don't feel anything in my body. Is that really true? Do we really know we feel something in our body or not? Let's see what science has to say about it. Now, scientists wanted to know, a team of scientists in Finland, they wanted to understand whether emotions truly are a physiological experience or not. And they also wanted to confirm at the same time, are they consistent or different across cultures? So they set up an interesting experiment. They did experiment 5 different locations across continents. And the participants were shown 2 outline of human body alongside with emotional pictures, movies or facial expressions to evoke a different emotional experience for each of them. They were asked to color the bodily regions whose activity they felt increasing or decreasing while viewing each stimulus. So they were given these kind of outlines and they had to color these body where they feel the increase or decrease in the emotion. And researchers later, they converted these inputs into something which is known as a heat map. And this is the image which you see on your screen, which are the heat map style images which the researchers converted. Now, the yellow, orange, and red are for increased activation, blues for decreased activation, and black where there was no change. Now, the surprising thing was they found that different emotions were very clearly associated with separate body sensation maps across experiments. So, what does this mean to us? It means our body has intelligence, it is connected to our emotions, and most importantly, it is giving us data about what's going on in our emotional weather system. So, by paying attention to our body and sensations in the body, we can improve awareness of our emotions. Now, this is just one way of improving our emotional awareness. If there can be other ways, but I chose this today because we all can, feel something in the body, and many of us are not very happy to do certain breathing exercises to bring more awareness of our emotions. Now, let's practice it for ourselves, and we'll do a practice known as body scan. Now, why are we practicing it today? Because just like swimming, you can never learn swimming by reading a book or hearing a talk about swimming. You can just know the mechanics of swimming, but to develop your swimming skill, you need to get into water. Similarly, you can learn all about emotional awareness, but to develop your emotional awareness, you need to practice it. So I would invite all of you to, whichever way you're sitting, to sit up a little more straight. Sit in an alert yet relaxed manner. And if you're fine, I'll invite you to close your eyes and take 3 deep breaths. If any of you have an issue with closing your eyes, please feel free to lower your eyes and lower your gaze, soft gaze, towards the floor in front of you. Let's begin by bringing your attention to your breath and start with taking 3 deep breaths. And now breathe normally and bring gentle awareness to your breathing. Noticing your in and out breath and the spaces in between. Now bring your attention to top of your head and your scalp. Notice any sensations or lack of sensation. Moving on, take your awareness down to your face, your forehead, the muscles around your eyes, cheeks, your jaws, your lips, and your tongue. And move your attention to the front of your neck and back of your neck. There is no need to change your experience. The purpose is not to relax or release tension, simply noting what is. Now move your attention to your shoulders, becoming aware of your upper arms, lower arms, hands. What sensations do you notice? You may notice sensations of heat or cold, or an itch, or some tingling, or as I said earlier, complete lack of sensation. Everything is fine. Just notice and be aware of it. Now bring your attention to your torso, starting with your upper back, moving down to your middle back and your lower back. Back supports us in many ways in our body through the day and the night. Give the attention that it deserves. Now moving on to the front of your body, your chest and your stomach. Noticing sensations of the breath, the beating of your heart, or any rumbling of the sound in your stomach, especially if you had a heavy meal or anything else. Now moving and sensing the lower part of your body. Noticing your hips and seat. Become aware of your contact with the chair where you're sitting and feel that pressing against your body. Moving now to your legs, one leg at a time, starting with your right. Through your thighs, knees, shins, calves, top and bottom of your feet, all the way to your toes. And doing the same with the other leg. Now, quickly bring your entire attention to your full body and notice the body as the whole. Notice the breath. Bring your awareness to what it is like to be sitting here right now. And with your eyes closed, let's experience a slight physical movement. Bring your attention to your face. Try raise the edges of your mouth slightly, resulting in a slight smile. Are there any changes in how you feel? If you'd like, you bring to mind someone you really care about and imagine them well and happy and smiling at you. What do you experience? And where in your body do these feelings manifest? Now bringing your attention back to your breath, breathing in and breathing out. And let's just settle the mind there. And take a few more breaths at your pace with the focus on the breath. And with that, let's bring this practice to a close. And you open your eyes and return your attention to the room. Welcome back. So it'll be good to know how was that experience. You can type in the chat box. So I can see some of them relaxing, amazing, refreshing, soothing, very connected, grounded, sleepy. Yes, this is also a practice that you can use end of the day to fall asleep. And if you want to do it to bring awareness, clear thing is to not lean against your chair because that will make you feel sleepy and calmer. Can I request everybody to put yourself on mute because there's some talk that we can hear. Can you please check if you're on mute? That'll really help all of us. Now, this is, this bringing our awareness to our body. It's like doing a mental gym. We are developing our muscle to increase our emotional awareness. Now, if any of you is having a question, how will this increase my emotional awareness? Hold your horses. Pun intended, the horse also in the story. And as we move forward. Now, after this creating awareness, our next step, okay, there's one comment, I'm sorry, but I would like to read. Adding that little smile was very powerful to realize how body can impact how we feel. Thanks for sharing, Sudha. So as we move, from creating awareness, let's see what is this connection about? What is that we are saying when we are talking connect? Now let's connect a little differently to our emotions. Normally what happens that we usually think of our emotions as being us. How do we normally express our emotions? We normally say, I'm happy, I'm angry, I'm sad. As if anger, happiness, or sadness are us or becomes who we are. Now, when we say like this to our mind, our emotions become our very existence. And when we experience them, we also experience them very existentially, if I may call it. They become our existence. And that is how we feel. It becomes the whole of us becomes that emotion. And if all of us becomes that emotion, how can I have a control over that? How can I deal with it? Now, the way we interact with our emotions, if we create a slight shift in which we connect with them, like saying, experiencing those emotions. I am experiencing anger in my body. Now, here we simply, this small shift changes the way we connect to emotions from being existential to experiential. Now, this insight gives us some space between our emotions, allowing us to be less caught up in emotions and be more self aware. It suggests the possibility of greater balance, choice, and freedom in relation to our emotions. If emotions are who I am, then there is very little chance what I can do about it. However, if emotions are what I experience in my body, then feeling angry becomes like a shoulder pain about which I can do something. It may not be as simple, so please don't get me wrong. I do not mean it is as simple, but I do have the power. It is something that I feel, it is a part of me, and it is not me fully. So, this is a very small but a very powerful shift that we create, the way we connect to our emotions. Thanks for muting yourself. So, however, when we do this shift, we really make a difference. Now, with this, if we have learned a little bit about connecting, feeling our emotions in our body, and also the way we connect to them, that they are something that I feel and I don't become my emotions. So, we are learning a little bit about our emotion awareness. But, when we learn something, if we are learning to swimming, the true test comes when you go to the deep end. which means the true test comes when we get into choppy waters. And for our context, that choppy water means when we are triggered, when we get agitated, and when we are not okay with some emotion that has merged. What do we do then? Now we are learning from emotional intelligence to manage. Now let's see how do we manage our triggers. So when we are triggered, let's see, mostly when you're triggered, it's an auto response that we end up giving. You know you can't deal with the anger and you immediately lash out to somebody, or you feel very hurt or feel very bad. Choosing your response is a major difference. And there is this person, Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor, a psychologist, and the founder of logotherapy. Now, what Victor has said, if you remember when we started, we said our brain's response to stimulus, external or internal, are emotions. Now, what Viktor Frankl said that, yes, between the stimulus and response, there is a space. And it is in this space that is our power to choose our response. We'll also experience it. How do we do it? And in this response lies our growth and our freedom. Now, when we are agitated or when we are triggered, if I may call it, with any emotion, it may not be anger or it may not be any emotion. When we are triggered, the space between stimulus and response fuses. There is no space as such, and we just respond in auto mode even before we realize, and we many a times regret our response. Now, if we increase our emotional awareness, as we have studied earlier, and we change the connection, we can reach out for this space and choose our response. Let's do that with a simple exercise over here. A thing which is known as stop. A very simple thing, but if we start practicing, it helps us a lot. The first thing is just stop. If you're triggered, this is known as a sacred pause. If you do not remember anything from the stop, please just remember the sacred pause, because that itself can stop a lot of things that we regret later. And then take a few breaths. Now, why am I asking you to take few breaths? Because it's also scientifically proven that taking deep breaths relaxes our body. Second reason is our emotions are arising in our limbic system. Now, when we are triggered, that part of our body takes control of our brain and we just react out of habit. When we are focusing on our breaths, we are also initiating our cognitive brain, activating it so there is less focus which is there on the emotional reaction. Then we observe. Observe, what are you feeling in your body? Where are you feeling this emotion? And notice the tension. Move from how you connect to your emotion, from I'm angry to I'm feeling anger in my body. And the last is proceed. Bring to mind the ways which are the best way and the most positive outcome for you to respond in this situation. You do not have to do it, you just have to think of it. The most positive outcome that you would like. Now, I know initially it is not easy and we all would take a little practice for us to get into it. But even if you remember this after you have got triggered, you are building the muscle. It is the mental gym that you have. You are building your muscle to go ahead and keep doing it. So let's do a simple practice here. We'll take a simple practice. I'll guide you through it. And we can take this 4 steps and observe it and go through it for ourselves. Now for this, you can either choose an incident of yours. Please do not choose something which has very high emotional connect and very difficult for you to deal with. But take something which irritated you and has a certain emotional charge. So we'll go through the visualization and the steps. For that, you can either lower your eyes or sit up straight. Sorry, lower your eyes or close your eyes. My mistake. Now sit up straight. I really recommend do not lean against something because then your body will want to go into relaxing and sleeping mode. So sit straight and relaxed and close your eyes. And once again, we take our attention to our breath. Bring gentle awareness to the breathing in and out breath and the spaces in between. Finding your anchor breath, the place where you feel the breath most vividly. Perhaps the rise and fall of your stomach or your chest, or the warm air going in and out of your nostrils. Let's now shift gears and remember the emotion. Bring to mind the incident that you may want to look at with a different lens. Bring back what experience you thought of and just play it. More importantly, your reaction in that incident, how you felt. And as you are experiencing that reaction, now shift focus and just stop connecting to that reaction. And let's practice our response strategy. Now, if some of you can, if you can just connect just before you were going to hit the trigger, hit the pause button and bring your attention to your breath. Try take a few deep breaths, focusing completely on your in-breath and out-breath. If you want, you can try again. The moment you either lost your cool or you got triggered, and as you know where you got triggered, just hit the pause button and bring your attention once again to your breath. And now, notice by bringing attention to your breath in your body, what does the emotion feel in your body? Where do you feel it? In your face, your neck, or shoulder? Is there some more tension in some part of your body? Experience it without judging or wanting to change. Try to experience emotional difficulty simply as a phenomena in your body and not as an existential phenomena. Experience it as I experience this emotion in my body. And take a minute to experience the emotion in your body using the skills you just learned in the body scan. And now, as if you've experienced in your body, now bring to your attention the ways which may be the best way for you to have a positive outcome. One of the ways which works well for a positive outcome, especially when it's an unpleasant experience between two people, is to look at from the other person's point of view and consider that everybody wants to be happy and everybody is doing their best in their own way. This person's action and acting in this way seems right and happy from their angle. So as we practice this more often, we can experience other ways to proceed in the most positive manner. And let's just replay the whole thing once again before we hit the pause. So as we are getting to the emotion, before we trigger, you hit the pause. You bring your attention to our breath. And we notice sensations in our body. And we proceed considering the perspective of the other person and choose the best way forward that feels right for you and the other person. Now let go of that image and bring awareness back to your breath right now. Taking your focus away from the incident and bringing more and more to your breath. If any of you is still experiencing any strong emotion in your mind or your body, one way to let go is make a tight fist with your hand or both the hands. And just imagine your residual emotion going there. Make it tighter. And with a strong flow, throw open your hand into the air in front of you. You can do it once or more than once. And then if you want, you can place your hand over your heart. And settle your mind there for a few more breaths. And as you settle your breath and your mind, let's bring this practice to a close. And open your eyes and come back to the room. Welcome back. So now this exercise completes our circle of 3 steps, which we had said in the beginning, which was clearly connect, create awareness, connect your emotions, and choose your response. And we did our practices of body scan, how we connect to our emotions experientially rather than existentially. And we use the technique of stop to be able to choose a different response. So this is what a simple thing for us is. The key here, friends, is practicing it. Even if we do some practice, simple practice, keys to practice, just like we don't develop a muscle going a week to a gym or 3 days to a gym, we do not develop this mental muscle without doing it regularly. So all the best for your practice, and I would love to hear what connected best with you from this session. And we also open the floor for question and answers.
Thank you, Parina. What a beautiful 3-step emotion regulation process you have explained to us. I'm sure it's going to be very useful. So there are some questions coming up. How does the breath help move from the limbic system to cognition?
See what happens when we put our focus on breath. It's not breathing helps. Putting a focus on your breath helps you move because you're consciously trying to do something where you are utilizing the prefrontal cortex. I'm sorry to use the technical term, but that part of your brain we are activating when we are putting a specific focus on our breath. If not breath, even when you're activating your focus on your body, that also activates your cognition and it reduces the focus on the emotional system of the brain.
Parina, Sudha has something to say.
Sure.
So she says that what stayed with her was how we can use our breath and small body movements and the language which we use to connect with emotions and the stop.
Happy to know that, Sudha. And Johnny, I'm happy to see that you experienced a state of flow because earlier you had shared you felt sad.
Mm.
I'm really happy that shift happened. Okay. Because for some reason my scrolling is not working, and so I think I need your help for the comments.
Sure.
So now the computer is playing prank on me.
Yeah.
Sure.
So someone is saying that, Shuvankar is saying it's a simple and powerful technique and looking forward to using it in my life.
Thank you. Okay, now suddenly it has come back.
Okay.
So thanks for support, Rekha. As you know, when you experience anger, you tend to forget everything currently in our minds. What advice would you give to stay calm and stop? So Rahul, its advice would be to practice. Just like when we go, if we want to pick up 100 kilos or if we want to run a marathon, we do not expect our stamina to have that much to go and do it in one day. We practice for months before we decide to do that. So these simple practices of daily, either using your body scan or using your breath as a technique, slowly builds your muscle to be able to, when you experience anger. Other advice I would give you is if you can, even if you become aware later. So let's say you had an experience anger, and if you become aware of it later, please use this technique because you are building that muscle, which will slowly help you to pause while you're getting angry.
Right.
Okay. Johnny, thanks for sharing. I get what you're saying in the comment. I am sad versus I feel sad. I liked your comparison with developing this habit with developing muscles in a gym. Very true. And the fact is, we put so much effort in developing our physical body, which is a good habit. I think we also need to start putting effort in building our mental muscles.
Right.
Thanks, Jayant. Very practical and possibly simple if one prepares oneself for such eventualities. And I think my last point would be it is not at all difficult. We can even do a simple thing few days in a week helps us. Would definitely practice this. I'm sure it'll help a lot. Looking forward to that. With that, I think we are coming to a close, right, Rika?
Yes. So there are some more coming in. We still have a few minutes, Karina. So Rama is saying something here. Yeah.
She's saying like how you combine the Vipassana technique as a body scan to create equanimity. Very true, Rama. Vipassana still, in my opinion, and for many others, still stays the mother of all techniques. And if all of us can take our time and be fortunate enough to do that, Nothing comes close. And before I end, I want to share with all of you that today's session was specially dear to me and holds a special place. The reason being that I think it's now 5 months, more than 5 months that I'm doing a webinar after a gap, a big gap of 5 months. I had a simple pain in my leg, and due to a slight, not a correct diagnosis, I had to stay away from work for almost 5 months. So thankfully, it did not bring my life to a halt, but my work surely came to a halt because I could not sit. And even now, when I'm talking to you guys, I'm standing. So I'm really happy for this and really thankful for being there. I didn't think, but it's making me quite emotional when I'm talking about it. So I just wanted to share that because it holds a special place for me and being part of that journey. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Parina, for sharing that. I'm sure that would have touched a lot of people here as it did me. You're a
Thank you,
champ.
Rekha.
Helen says you're a champ.
Right. Thank you. Thank you for all your comments and really touched to see all the comments here. So it's
Right.
really good to see the things. Awesome. It really helps. Thank you. Thank for your care. Really wonderful. And as our year comes to an end, we look forward to seeing you for next Coaches for You webinar, the
Yes.
last one in the December.
Yes. Thank you, everyone. Have a lovely weekend. Thank you for joining us. Bye bye.